Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Whitaker. And after the last video that I sent to all of you, talking a little bit about disorganized attachment style, um, I really started thinking, and it seemed like a good idea to do a series of video blogs just to bring some more awareness and information to all of you about the attachment system, the various attachment styles, and why they matter. So that's where I'm going to start today, is just talking about the attachment system, what it is and why it's important. And then I'm going to segue into talking about secure attachment, which is kind of the goal for all of us. So the attachment styles that we develop in childhood play a critical role throughout our entire lives in how we interact and relate in our adult relationships. That includes intimate partnerships, our working relationships with colleagues or bosses or employees, and also parenting and caregiving dynamics. So our attachment styles influence how we form relationships, how we communicate, and how we express and respond to caring behaviors. So on one hand, our attachment system and our attachment style could generate an assortment of habits and behaviors that actually enhance our ability to feel safe, connected, valued, and joyful in life, or our attachment style could generate an assortment of habits and behaviors that impede our ability to feel safe, connected, valued, and joyful in life. So this can be a two-way street, and this is more of a nurture problem than it is a nature problem, because our attachment style is something that we learn in early childhood. So the attachment system itself is an innate behavioral system that is interconnected with our nervous system and physiologically in our body, that influences too soft of a word. It's an innate behavioral system that dictates how we bond with others. And it starts to develop in utero, because as soon as we're conceived, there is this dependence on our very first caregiver, which is our mother, to protect us and keep us safe until we're actually born into the world. So it's important to develop this secure attachment as we grow. And ironically, because of how we learn, it's the implicit mind and that includes the attachment system, not the explicit mind. So this isn't something that's within our conscious awareness. This is all happening with the implicit subconscious mind. And because of how the subconscious mind learns implicitly, our attachment styles are pretty much intact and in place by the time we turn 4 years old. And as we get into adulthood, that's whenever we start to see bigger and bigger problems. And then that's where we make the choice to repair and heal our attachment systems. So I don't want you to think that these are just solidified and set in stone. You can do something about it. Now, having said that, I want to segue into talking about secure attachment. And so I'm just going to read this little blurb about the overview of the attachment dynamics of secure attachment. So healthy attachment with parents who are present, safe, protective, playful, and consistent offers a positive enough holding environment that allows for healthy relating and bonding. And the good news is we only need about 30 to 50% attunement with parents and caregivers that value pro-relationship behaviors and an ability to repair misattunements for this to work well. No one has to be perfect. So that's the fortunate part. We're not looking for perfection here, just 30 to 50% of that secure attachment response from those around us. And we can re-access the original innate healthy attachment system later in life through appropriate healing and skill building. So what does that mean to have that appropriate skill building and to set the right environment for secure attachment? Well, for secure attachment to develop, we need safety. Our nervous systems are designed to operate in a safe environment. So within the emotional portion of the brain, in the limbic system, is this little device called the amygdala, and I'm calling it a device because the amygdala is the emotional center of the brain, and it's also where the fire alarm is. So that's the part of the brain where we carry our baggage from one relationship to another. And so something happened in a previous relationship, you start to see this little cue in a current one, and the amygdala pulls the fire alarm like, oh my gosh, we're having a threat. This is not a safe situation. And so it's the part of the brain that's supposed to pull the fire alarm when there's an actual threat to our life, as in we're in the presence of a predator or a life-threatening situation. But more often than not, our amygdalas pull the fire alarm when we're not actually in the presence of a predator or we're not actually in a life-threatening situation. So that fire alarm gets pulled, and that's a sign of a dysregulated nervous system. So what does a safe environment that leads to secure attachment look like? Well, there are some key components that set up the right environment. So one of the components of a safe environment includes protection. Our caregivers should, one, want to protect us, and two, be competent in how they go about it, especially in that in utero to about age 4 phase of life. So protection is one aspect of safety. Another aspect of a safe environment is presence. And presence is about empathy and attunement and sensitivity, words that in mainstream society are often considered weak or vulnerable in a bad way, not a good way. So that requires a change of thinking. And I don't mean presence, just physical presence. That doesn't mean being preoccupied by your own unresolved past or being preoccupied by scrolling through a screen. It's being present with your physical body, but also with your attention with those around you. So that presence is important. And if you think about it, you're really only fully alive in those moments when you're present, both mentally and emotionally and spiritually and physically, when that's all in alignment, because everything else is just autopilot. Another component of a safe environment is that easy flow and flexibility between connection with somebody else and being okay with being alone and being by yourself, being connected and being alone, and being okay with either situation. So it's that elasticity. Trust, and just a basic level of trust in the other person, that they're going to be there for you, that they're going to show up, there's going to be understanding and consistency. That's another important component of a safe environment. Another one is a positive holding environment. And again, with a positive holding environment, which is often referred to nowadays as holding space, we're not necessarily looking for perfection here. It's that 30 to 50% of being present and holding that positive space that's necessary. And it needs to be positive enough that we don't have too many attachment ruptures or disruptions, because if you have too many, then it becomes harder to repair. And that leads into repair, which might be the most important component of safety in relationship out of everything that I've mentioned. And this is the one that I highlight and I want to stand out the most, because repair is when I realize that maybe I've hurt your feelings. And so I'm going to hold myself accountable, and I'm going to approach you, and I'm going to say, I didn't intend to, hoping that I didn't intend to. And if I did intend to, it's important to own up to that as well, and saying, that was a really shitty thing that I did, and I'd like to make it right. As long as that's a sincere attempt to initiate repair, and you're willing to make modifications to your own behaviors and actions in the future to make an effort not to do it again and to work through it, then that can really create a sense of safety and repair of attachment ruptures in relationship. So initiating repair is important, but also receiving repair is incredibly important as well. So if somebody's approaching you with a sincere, heartfelt attempt to repair a rupture that they caused in relationship, it's going to be important to receive that and not be committed to making them wrong. Because if you're not willing to receive an apology and you're committed to making the other person wrong, then there are some other issues in the relationship that you might need to work through, and that's not secure attachment. And why repair is so important is because, and I really want this statistic to sink in, there is an 80% chance, 80% of developing a healthy, secure relationship simply by learning this single skill of repair. So if nothing else sinks in today, initiating and receiving repair, let that stick. Another aspect of safety in relationship is being reasonably reliable. Again, we're not looking for perfection, but this is being predictable and consistent and being reliable. Like, we know that there are emergencies and things that come up, but being reliable enough that when you don't show up, the person isn't thinking, "Ugh, here we go again with, mom or so-and-so or my partner or whomever not showing up." It should be oh, this isn't like them. Something's wrong. So that's more of a secure attachment in relationship. And then the final one I'm going to talk about today is just having a sense of calm and peace and relaxation, which is that experience of regulation in the nervous system. So even though you might get a little bit angry or upset or agitated, or you might feel a little bit down in the dumps, you still have enough vitality in you to get through the day, and not to be completely taken out by a little upset or a little bit of a disappointment. So being able to self-regulate your nervous system and also co-regulate your nervous system. So co-regulation looks a lot like realizing that somebody in your presence is not on the top of their game, and realizing you can hold a safe space for them without following them down that rabbit hole of anger or panic or anxiety or the doldrums or whatever that might look like. So I hope this gives you a really nice introduction to what the attachment system is, how it begins to develop, and what are some of the conditions that really are required to create secure attachment. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. My email is info@jenniferwhitaker.com, or you can find me at my website. Just look up jenniferwhitaker.com. And I will see you in the next few videos where I continue to talk more about the attachment styles. I'll break them down individually and just give you more information about what to look for and why that matters. I'll see you next time, folks. Have a great day.